Hello, my name is Alexander Merryman, and today I will be presenting my capstone project on the PNC Financial Services Group Incorporated. PNC was founded in 1845 as the Pittsburgh Trust and Savings Company. Many mergers and acquisitions later, they are now a large incorporated organization. PNC is currently the sixth largest retail bank in the United States. They are currently considered a regional bank because they only operate in 19 states instead of all 50. They are primarily located along the eastern seaboard. PNC's current strategic focus is to grow and strengthen the relationships it has with its customers through investments into its business, products, services, communities, and people. PNC has four primary business segments: retail banking, corporate institutional banking, asset management, and its BlackRock investment. Retail banking is PNC's largest business segment. Retail banking comprises all of the bank's deposit, lending, brokerage, insurance, and investment management activities. Customers are serviced through PNC's branch network, ATMs, call centers, and online and mobile banking solutions. For the purposes of this analysis, this segment is going to be the primary focus of this paper, with a focus on the retail lending products. I am currently a retail lending associate who works with product development and operations, so this is the area of the bank that I would personally have the most impact on, and that's why I'll make it my focus. To briefly go through PNC's other groups, C&IB provides lending, treasury management, and capital markets related products and services to corporations, governments, and not-for-profit entities. The Asset Management Group provides personal wealth management for high net worth clients and asset management for institutions. Services include investment and retirement planning, private banking, credit solutions, and trust management. PNC has a large ownership stake in BlackRock, which is the world's largest investment management firm. They own about 22% of the company, and their stake is currently worth about $18 billion. This investment provides a good source of additional income for PNC, and it serves as a point of revenue diversification. While all these business units are largely independently run, they all report up to Chief Executive Officer Bill Demchak. Mr. Demchak's leadership team is listed below. Overall, I would classify PNC's corporate structure as being fairly hierarchical in nature. Additionally, there are some elements that are organic and there are some that are mechanistic. Some roles are very well defined, like tellers, underwriters, fulfillment officers, etc., while some roles are a lot more organic in nature, like product managers who have their fingerprints on a million different teams and are always doing something different. I'm currently working more in an organic position. It does not have a mission statement, but they do have a set of corporate values. Corporate values are listed here: customer focus, diversity and inclusion, integrity, performance, quality of life, respect, and teamwork. I think these statements reflect very well on PNC. PNC has made the customer the primary focus of the organization. From my own personal experience, I have found that internal discussions always focus on the customer and how what we are doing will impact them at the end. I think it's a great way to do business. PNC's Human Resource Department has done a great job with their employees. They have won numerous awards for being a happy workplace, being accommodating of employees and their families, especially single parents, and promoting diversity into the workplace. I also think they really strive to promote work-life balance. For a bank of its size, work-life balance is huge, and they strive to differentiate themselves from the grueling environment that some of its Wall Street competitors have. PNC even allows employees additional time off to participate in charity work. There's nothing about PNC, both from my personal experience and from my research, that's given me a reason not to believe the company and its employees are striving to live out these values every day. Since lending products will be the focus of our conversation, I wanted to go through what PNC actually offers. They offer mortgage, home equity, consumer and business credit cards, unsecured installment loans and lines of credit, direct auto loans, indirect auto loans, education loans and refinancing, and business banking loans and lines of credit. I used a Porter's Five Forces analysis in order to gain an understanding of the industry that PNC actually operates within. For competition within this industry, I rated this as being the strongest factor from Porter's Five Forces. PNC not only faces competition from its existing competitors, companies like JP Morgan Chase, US Bancorp, Wells Fargo, Citizens Bank, Bank of America, etc., but it's also facing competition from non-bank and online banks. Online banks can offer better interest rates since they do not have a brick-and-mortar presence they need to support. These banks primarily draw in younger consumers, like millennials who are easier with foregoing bank branches altogether. Non-bank lending entities, like Quicken Loans and SoFi, specialize in loan origination services, which are often faster and entirely digital as opposed to PNC. Substitute products are a growing threat within the financial services industry. Companies who aren't even directly competing with PNC, perhaps like Venmo and Square Cash, are offering peer-to-peer payment transfer services that are quickly becoming the standard method to transfer funds. Online peer-to-peer lenders such as Prosper and Lending Club have also been alternative ways for individuals to obtain financing. Even tech companies like Apple and Google have begun offering peer-to-peer payment services on their phones with Apple Pay and Google Pay. To combat these growing threats, PNC has begun to partner with a number of companies to provide its own payment services, but it's still going to be a growing threat going forward. Despite some of these previous concerns, I think the threat of an actual new entrant who directly competes with PNC is fairly unlikely. The reason for this is that any company who's operating as a retail bank offering the same type of product mix as PNC is going to face significant obstacles from both a financial and a regulatory standpoint. Consumer finance is very heavily regulated. A company can't just start up and get to the same level that PNC is on. Instead, they'll compete with PNC on more of an individual product basis. Lastly, the threat of consumers and suppliers are both very weak. The reason for this is that the customers and the suppliers are both the same. They're the people that are lended loans and they're the people who provide their deposits to PNC, but both are done on an individual level. The loss of a single individual has virtually no impact on PNC. Yet, PNC needs to work to always continue to retain and attract new customers, as if there was ever a growing trend where many customers or suppliers were to leave, then PNC would have a very huge issue. My next analysis was my SWOT analysis. Many of the points from my SWOT analysis are listed below, but overall, PNC has many notable strengths. For any bank, strong loan growth is likely their most important factor as it shows that the bank is fundamentally sound. PNC's has been growing in recent years, which is a great sign. The fact that total overall revenue has increased year to year is another very positive sign. PNC also has a very strong geographic presence. This makes banking easy for many customers and it keeps PNC highly visible. PNC also has a strong history and brand. Being one of the country's largest banks means that PNC has access to a lot of capital, which is a big strength to have in the banking industry. These strengths and others will be relied on by PNC as it seeks to deliver the best lending products and services to its customers. PNC's weaknesses are primarily in regards to its bureaucracy and some of its deficiencies in the origination processes. PNC's home equity mortgage products, its two biggest revenue drivers, haven't been as competitive as competitors in recent years. Additionally, PNC's risk-averse culture has its benefits, such as greater stability during financial crises, but it also comes with downside, such as the longer decision-making process and foregoing a higher risk, higher reward opportunity. PNC cannot operate as quickly as smaller firms can, and this can hamper their ability to move quickly to adjust to shifting tastes and preferences among consumers. In terms of opportunity, PNC has a number of options. PNC has made many acquisitions in the past, many of which were quite successful. These were primarily acquisitions of smaller banks in order to increase their geographic presence and consolidate their existing markets. Technology is also a huge opportunity for PNC. Blockchain, AI, automation, robotics, and data analytics are all emerging technologies that could provide PNC the opportunity to enhance and expand its current product and services. Additionally, PNC could establish strategic partnerships with startup fintech firms that could quickly gain access to core competencies in these fields. I briefly spoke of the threats that PNC faces, but most of these threats come from their traditional competitors, who are other large banks that compete with PNC margin for margin across their entire product line. But PNC is also facing threats from fully online banks who can offer better interest rates because they don't have a brick and mortar presence. And they're also facing pressures from online loan originators who can process loans a lot faster than PNC can. Next, I performed a VRIO analysis to assess PNC's core competencies. One of their biggest assets is their extensive branch and ATM network. It is the fourth largest of all banks. These branches make them highly visible and accessible to consumers. Their next asset is their brand. The company has largely avoided major scandals while receiving a vast number of accolades for high performance in diversity and inclusion, environmental awareness, military veteran support, and community support. These accolades show PNC's commitment to corporate social responsibility. In addition, you can see PNC's name on a number of prominent buildings, including the Pittsburgh Pirates home field, PNC Park. Overall, I think PNC has a very strong corporate culture for these reasons, as well as many of the reasons that I've already stated in my analysis. PNC has other resources to be sure, but I don't see quite many of these other resources listed here as being unique core competencies that PNC has over other institutions. PNC has a strong focus on improving its fundamentals. These include variables such as growing consumer loans, deposits, and revenues, all while improving profitability and managing risk. I wanted to examine some of these variables for my financial ratio analysis, so I chose to look at the return on assets ratio, return on equity, total debt to capital, and net interest margin. All of the ratios listed here are improving, and they're also beating industry averages. I paid close attention to net interest margin because it reveals the net profit on interest earning assets, such as loans and investment securities, which are the primary source of revenue for banks like PNC. Overall, PNC's financials are very solid. The financial industry as a whole has been very strong the past 2 years, largely as a result of the deregulation by the current administration, the recently enacted tax cuts, and the now rising interest rate environment. As a whole, I think this makes the financial sector a very attractive and exciting industry to compete in. One of PNC's strategic issues is the time it takes to originate a loan and the burden of the application process on the consumer. Applying for any type of a loan needs to be more user-friendly. The longer the application process takes, the more likely a consumer is to go elsewhere for a loan. PNC needs to be a leader again in loan origination services. The recommendation is that PNC automates the process of verifying applicants' income. This will do a number of things. It will reduce the time it takes to originate a loan. It will be a major step towards the simplification of the loan application process. It will eliminate one of the mechanistic processes within the bank, and it will reduce the bank's overall credit risk by reducing fraud through better verification of income procedures. The goal in the end is to have more satisfied customers, to be in a more competitive position against online loan originators, to have more resources to reallocate towards revenue driving functions, and to be able to improve the bottom line net interest margin. I believe that the best way to establish this capability is by establishing a strategic partnership. I think that building this capability in-house would take too much time and would be too costly, whereas there are other partners that are available who already have a solid capability in place. Additionally, I don't think acquisition is the right move here. PNC has been no stranger to mergers and acquisitions in the past, but they have all been with other banks, where PNC knew that they were a strong partner who had operational efficiencies that they could bring to these banks. The financial technology side, though, not so much. For this reason, I think a strategic partnership is their best option to move forward and move forward quickly and successfully. PNC could look at a number of strategic partners for its verification of income project, but I have one partner in mind, Finicity. Finicity is a leading provider of financial aggregation and insight services who has already partnered with giants like Freddie Mac to offer advanced verification of asset capabilities to its clients, all automated solutions. In order to successfully establish this capability, a number of strategic partners throughout the organization will need to be consulted on this. These include teams such as the executive team, which is crucial to have buy-in from, as well as the product owners and the operations executives who will actually end up owning this product and implementing it in the end. Additionally, we're going to want to contact teams like the automation team, who, while they might not be automating the process, they can speak the language very well to Finicity and give them the specifications that PNC is currently using and what they'll need in the future. Other teams like risk and legal and compliance will ensure that everything we're doing with Finicity is well within the confines of the policies that we've already sent to our consumers and that we'll use going forward. Finally, we're going to really want to look at the current verification of income managers and their employees and the underwriting managers and their employees. These are going to be tricky to get buy-in from, as we'll talk about in the next slide. Automation can be a scary phrase for some employees, especially those whose current roles are at risk. However, the goal of the automation process isn't to eliminate jobs, but rather free up employees from some of their drudge work so that they can move on to more fulfilling and challenging roles. Employees currently working in VOI should bring their detail-oriented talents to more knowledge-based tasks. Communication and some proper training will be key for employees as they make this transition. In order to get buy-in from all parties, the partnership will need to be well-defined and the future of the alignment of the business and its resources need to be well communicated all throughout PNC. There needs to be strong mutual vision of success for all the partners involved. Additionally, I think it's really important that PNC does a launch pilot first for about 2 to 3 months in order to test the new automated system without making any major changes to the VOI procedure. You want to ensure that the results you're getting from the automated VOI procedure and the current VOI teams are going to be the same. Once launched, we're going to want to measure the proposal's success by looking at a few variables, including average loan origination time, loan volume, net interest margin, and the average cost to originate. We want these all to improve, and we want credit risk to continue to go down. Hopefully the automation of VOI goes smoothly, and then we can see the rest of PNC's processes automate as well so they become more agile going forward.